Most people believe the path to wealth is simple. Save every penny, avoid spending, cut every expense, hold on tightly to every dollar you earn. And on the surface, that sounds intelligent. It sounds responsible. It sounds like wisdom. But if that were true, then the people who obsess over saving would eventually become the richest people in society, yet they rarely do. Because there is a dangerous difference between protecting money and growing money. And most people never learn that difference. They spend their entire lives defending a small pile of money instead of building a machine that creates more. Today, we are going to explore one of the most misunderstood ideas about wealth. An idea that frightens poor people. An idea that confuses average people. And an idea that wealthy people quietly understand better than anyone else. Why spending money is often the very thing that makes people rich. And why refusing to spend money can keep you trapped exactly where you are. Watch this video until the end. Because the final lesson may completely change how you look at money forever. And once you see it, you will never think about wealth the same way again. Machiavelli understood something about power that most people miss. Power is not created by holding resources. Power is created by moving resources. Think about it. A sword hanging on a wall has no power. Only a sword being used has power. An army sitting still achieves nothing. Only an army in motion changes history. Money follows the same principle. Money hidden away cannot grow. Money deployed strategically can transform lives. This is where most people fail. They become emotionally attached to money. Every dollar feels precious. Every expense feels painful. Every investment feels dangerous. So they do nothing. And slowly, without realizing it, they become servants to the very money they are trying to protect. The wealthy think differently. They see money as soldiers. And soldiers are not meant to sit in barracks forever. They are meant to be sent into battle. Every dollar has a job. Every dollar has a mission. Every dollar must return with reinforcements. That is the difference. The poor ask, how can I avoid losing money? The wealthy ask, how can I use money to make more money? At first, the difference sounds small, but over decades, it creates two completely different lives. One person spends 20 years protecting their money. The other spends 20 years deploying their money. Guess who ends up with more? This is the first lesson. Money is a tool, not a trophy. Most people treat money like a trophy. They collect it, they admire it, they count it repeatedly. They feel secure looking at it. But a hammer hanging on a wall builds nothing. A hammer creates value only when it is used. Money works exactly the same way. The moment you understand this, your entire relationship with wealth begins to change. Because wealth is not about possession. It is about multiplication. And multiplication requires movement. Think about the wealthiest people you know. Did they become rich because they refused to spend money? No, they spent money constantly, but they spent it differently. They spent it on businesses, they spent it on opportunities, they spent it on skills, they spent it on relationships, they spent it on systems, they spent it on assets. While everyone else was spending money to look rich, they were spending money to become rich. And that distinction changes everything. Machiavelli would have recognized this immediately, because power always requires investment. No king became powerful by hiding resources underground. No empire expanded by refusing to spend. No ruler conquered new territory through excessive caution. The people who changed history understood a simple truth. Growth always demands risk, and risk always requires resources. The average person fears losing money. The wealthy fear wasting opportunity. Read that again in your mind. The average person fears losing money. The wealthy fear wasting opportunity. One fear creates scarcity. The other creates abundance. Imagine there is an opportunity sitting in front of you. A course that teaches a valuable skill, a business idea, a mentor, a piece of equipment, a marketing campaign. Something that could potentially increase your income for years. Most people immediately focus on the cost. How much does it cost? What if it doesn't work? What if I lose the money? But wealthy minds ask different questions. What if it does work? What if this changes my future? What is the cost of staying exactly where I am? That last question is powerful, because the greatest expense in life is often not losing money. The greatest expense is remaining stagnant. Every year you delay learning. Every year you delay building. Every year you delay investing in yourself. You are paying a hidden price, a price called lost opportunity. And lost opportunity is one of the most expensive things in the world. Most people never calculate it. They only calculate visible losses. They see the $100 spent. They never see the thousands they failed to earn. This is why many people remain trapped. They focus entirely on avoiding mistakes. But wealth comes from pursuing opportunities, and opportunities almost always require investment. Now, don't misunderstand this message. This is not permission to spend recklessly. This is not permission to buy luxury cars you cannot afford. This is not permission to impress strangers with expensive clothes. That kind of spending destroys wealth. We are talking about strategic spending. The kind of spending that creates future value. The kind of spending that increases capability. The kind of spending that expands influence. The kind of spending that produces returns long after the money is gone. Because every dollar you spend is casting a vote for your future. The question is, what future are you voting for? Most people vote for temporary pleasure. The wealthy vote for permanent advantage. And that single difference quietly shapes entire destinies. The poor man buys what makes him look successful. The wealthy man buys what makes him more successful. One purchases appearances, the other purchases leverage. And leverage is where wealth begins. Leverage. This is the word that separates those who spend money and stay poor from those who spend money and become wealthy. Because leverage allows $1 to do the work of 10, 1 hour to do the work of 100, one effort to create years of results. And the moment you understand leverage, you stop asking, how much does this cost? And start asking, what can this produce? Most people never reach this stage. They see money leaving their account and immediately feel pain. The wealthy see money leaving their account and ask whether it is being transformed into something larger. Think about a farmer. A farmer who eats all his seeds survives today. A farmer who plants his seeds sacrifices today for tomorrow. To an outsider, planting seeds looks foolish. The farmer is literally burying valuable resources in the ground. Resources he could have used immediately. Resources he could have consumed. Resources he could have enjoyed. But he understands something others do not. The purpose of a seed is not consumption. The purpose of a seed is multiplication. Money works the same way. Yet most people consume every seed they receive. Every paycheck becomes food, entertainment, gadgets, status symbols, and temporary pleasures. Then they wonder why their financial life never changes. Because they have eaten every seed. Nothing remains to grow, nothing remains to multiply, nothing remains to create a harvest. Machiavelli understood that power belongs to those willing to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term advantage. This principle appears everywhere in life. The strongest athletes sacrifice comfort. The greatest leaders sacrifice comfort. The most successful entrepreneurs sacrifice comfort. Yet when it comes to money, most people refuse. They want the harvest without planting. They want the reward without investment. They want the outcome without the sacrifice. And reality does not work that way. Every fortune began as an investment. Every empire began as a risk. Every success story began with someone deciding to spend resources today for a larger reward tomorrow. But there is another reason people stay poor. And this reason is psychological. They believe spending money makes them poorer. This belief sounds logical, but it is incomplete, because some spending makes you poorer, and some spending makes you richer. The problem is that most people cannot tell the difference. They see spending as a single category. The wealthy separate spending into two categories: consumption and investment. Consumption takes money away. Investment sends money out with instructions to return. That distinction changes everything. A luxury watch may impress people, but does it increase your income? Does it build a skill? Does it create opportunities? Does it expand your network? Does it generate cash flow? If not, it is likely consumption. Now compare that to acquiring knowledge, learning sales, learning marketing, learning business, learning communication, learning negotiation. Those skills can generate income for decades. The money spent disappears once. The value created can last forever. The wealthy know this. That is why they often spend aggressively on things that increase capability. Because capability creates income, and income creates freedom. Most people try to save their way to wealth. But wealth is rarely built through saving alone. Saving protects money. Income creates money. And the ability to create income is worth more than the ability to save. Imagine two men. The first man protects every dollar. The second man learns a skill that allows him to earn 10 times more. Who wins? The answer is obvious. Yet most people focus all their energy on protecting money instead of increasing their value. This is why wealthy individuals often spend large amounts on education, mentorship, networking, and growth. They are not buying information, they are buying acceleration. Time is the one resource that never returns. Money lost can be earned again. Opportunities lost can sometimes return. But time is gone forever. Every year spent moving slowly is a year you never get back. And this is where another Machiavellian truth emerges. The rich are willing to pay to move faster. The poor are willing to wait. Think carefully about that. The rich are willing to pay to move faster. The poor are willing to wait. One person spends money to save years. The other spends years to save money. And years are infinitely more valuable. This is why successful people often hire experts. This is why business owners hire employees. This is why entrepreneurs pay consultants. This is why leaders build teams. Because leverage is not merely about money, it is about time. Every wealthy person eventually learns a painful lesson. You cannot do everything alone. Trying to do everything yourself feels economical. But often it is expensive. Because while you are busy doing low-value tasks, you are unable to focus on high-value opportunities. And opportunities are where fortunes are made. The average person sees spending as loss. The wealthy see spending as exchange. They exchange money for time. They exchange money for knowledge. They exchange money for access. They exchange money for influence. They exchange money for opportunity. And opportunity is where wealth lives. But there is an even deeper lesson hidden beneath all of this. A lesson most people never understand. Money follows confidence, not arrogance. Confidence. The willingness to invest in yourself is a form of confidence. It is a declaration, a statement to the world, and more importantly, to yourself. It says, I believe I am capable of producing more. This mindset changes behavior, and behavior changes outcomes. Think about someone who refuses to invest in themselves, refuses to learn, refuses to improve, refuses to take calculated risks. Deep down, what are they really saying? They are saying they do not believe the future version of themselves can create enough value to justify the investment. That belief becomes a prison, because people rarely rise above the level of confidence they have in themselves. The wealthy understand that self-investment is often the highest return investment available, because businesses can fail, markets can crash, opportunities can disappear, but knowledge stays, skills stay, experience stays, wisdom stays, and those assets travel with you everywhere. No one can steal them, no one can tax them away, no one can take them from your mind. This is why some people lose fortunes and build them again. Because the money was never the real asset was the person, the knowledge, the mindset, the capability, the ability to create value. Once you understand this, money stops feeling scarce, because you realize wealth is not merely what you have. Wealth is what you can create, and the person capable of creating wealth can always rebuild.